Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Object 268 review, the Russian Tier 10 Tank Destroyer. So, is this thing worth the grind? Well, yes, it is. If you want to go, if you like, and if you want to camp a bush, because most of the tanks in this line are really campy. They're really bad at anything but camping. They have usually really good guns on rather shitty platforms. This tank kinda steps away from it, but it's still more or less the same. It just has a bit more flexibility than, for instance, the 704 or the ISU. But the line in general, I mean, it's really good at what it does. It does, well, it's only really good at camping, but I guess that's the more or less the only thing it does good. And if you like that kind of a gameplay, then this is probably the best line to go for. And you probably shouldn't go for like on fucking auto-loading TDs if you only thing you do is camp in them. If you like to camp, this is the one for you. It has the best, one of the best TPMs, really high hitting gun, really good accuracy. The only downside to the sniping on this thing is that the shell velocity is rather poor. But other than that, it's a really good sniper. It's really stealthy, and yeah, stealth playing OP. It got nerfed some patches ago. The reverse speed got nerfed from the ridiculous 20 or something like that to something more like 12, which is average, I guess. But yeah, let's look into the armor and then let's talk about the rest in the game. So basically what you have here is the IS-8's hull, something like that, with some space side armor, not too many though, even though you can get 700 here as well, because strong Russian armor, yes? But other than that, there's not much to talk about here. The hull is 120. It's sloped reasonably well, I guess, but as long as you put shots into here, it shouldn't bounce with the tier 10 guns. You have the obvious weak spot here. And the superstructure, pretty good. As you can see, there's a weak spot here. It's the flat part you can see here. This part is a weak spot. And then you have rather good side or superstructure armor. Rather, this spot looks weaker. I guess that's because it has to do something with the angling or some shit. But yeah, the superstructure is pretty good. It can bounce shots, as you can see, 280, 270. It's alright. The gun mantlet is powerful as well. Made out of Stalin. Entire gun mantlet is made out of Stalin, but it's not as big as, for instance, the 704. So yeah, gun mantlet can bounce shots, but it won't get hit so much. And this weak spot is annoying as fuck when you try to go hull down on this. And another thing it loses over the 704 is the gun depression. This thing only gets 5 degrees instead of 6, which might not seem like a big deal, but it can hurt it quite a bit. Enough said about the armor, let's get into the replay. So playing Mountain Pass, haven't seen this map a lot on my channel. I think it's a bit imbalanced, but then again, who am I to judge? Playing with Zircon, he's playing the Jagdpanzer, and Jedi, who's playing his IS-4. Obvious decisions on this map is either to snipe across at the start, but I don't really trust our scouts to spot anything useful, so I'm not gonna do that. And the other choice obviously is to go south. Going north is usually a dumb idea, especially with a tank that has no weak spots above his gun and has not a lot of gun depression. If you look at the matchmaking, it looks pretty poor. They have a lot of good players, a lot of tier 10 tank destroyers, and to succeed, even though it doesn't mind too much, but it doesn't like to really fight in close range against medium tanks or tank destroyers. It rather stays hidden and stays at long range, but in this map you don't really have given that priority to choose your camping spot so much. So just going in and trying to support my team as best as I can and take some early shots. The speed of this tank is quite good. As you can see, it goes around 40. It's much faster. It accelerates much faster. It turns much faster than the previous tanks in this line, but look at that. Unlucky Panther 2 is the only tier 8 in this game, and look at that position. Very salty, that Panther 2. Let's look into the stats of the mobility. So 48 kilometers is the forwards speed limit. Backwards it's 15, not 12, as I mentioned earlier. Engine power is 800 horsepower, but the power to weight ratio is above average at 15.6, which is actually pretty good. It's almost like a sluggish medium tank standard. Gun traverse is 26 degrees per second. That doesn't really matter that much. Third hull traverse is 28 degrees, which is alright for a tier 10 tank destroyer. You range 400 meters, and nothing else really matters here. Gun depression -5, as I mentioned. Elevation 15. Gun arch is only 12 degrees instead of like 16 or something like that on the 704, if not even more. So gun arch is -6 plus 6, which is not a lot. Really good camo values on this tank, way above the average. And yeah, that's the 268 in the stats. The gun on this is not the BL10 anymore. The gun, actually, after they nerfed it, is worse, in my opinion, than the BL10. So it's a 152mm M64 gun. Rate of fire at 3.64, which gives you a reload around 13.5, something like that, seconds. Average penetration is 303. I'm pretty sure it's the second highest penetration after the Death Star with AP from tier 10 tank destroyers. I mean, gold penetration 395. Very sad. It got nerfed. It's only 395. So you might not be able to penetrate the mouse angled at 45 degrees in the upper plate. You might not be able to do that now. So very, very sad. The interesting thing about this gun is that HE damage is 1100. They nerfed the AP damage to 750, but they didn't touch the HE damage. With 13.5 second reload, if you reload HE for like a waffle or something, it can be ridiculous. You can do like up to 1300 damage with HE. It can completely wreck the tank there. Accuracy 0.33, probably the best accuracy from the tier 10 tank destroyers. Maybe the other Russian TD has better accuracy. Aiming time 2.7 seconds, which is better than on the predecessors, but this tank struggles a lot with the bad gun arch, as I mentioned, and it's gonna struggle a bit to find the targets without re-aiming a lot. And the shell velocity is something that you don't get the numbers on, but you can find them if you really look for them. And this tank has probably the worst shell velocity of any tier 10 tank destroyer, so that is something to note. You have to get used to the gun. The gun is good, but you need to get used to it. And this game so far fired like what, 4 shots so far. Now we're pushing in. We're doing this. The only way the 268 works here like this is because we're playing in platoon. My platoon mates are playing heavy tanks or yak panzers or whatnot. They're tanking the hits for me. I got lucky at the start of the game. I rolled quite high, but usually this kind of 268 play never pays off. You almost always die if you do this alone. So playing this in a platoon, you can afford to play it aggressive. If you play solo, you have to camp. You have to be passive, or you have to like try to communicate with your teammates, which is not very easy in this game. Both of these guys just fired, so I guess I can take a shot. As you see, the traverse is good. It's much better than on the 704, but the gun arc is pretty bad, so you need to turn a lot to get the shots off. So cruise kill wise, depends on your playstyle. I would probably put camo first and then repairs. Sixth Sense obviously, snapshot, smooth ride, all the stats with the LPM, and this is pretty poor play. I thought I could get a shot off, but he was held down and got unlucky on the IS-7, even though he didn't pen me either, so I can't be too sad about my life. And now I realize that I'm overextending. My tank is not really good for what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna sit back a bit and wait for the game to develop and let the Jedi tank, because he's in the IS-4. Equipment wise, you might argue, I don't even want to bother. I don't believe in camo nets and using them at all. I'd rather put the distance of around 400 meters between myself and my enemies, so I can be sure that I don't get spotted. I don't trust camo nets, especially on a tank that needs to turn this much. Equipment I use is gun rammer, obviously, gun leg drive just to make the saving time better after you have turned, and binos just to get that U range going. Don't really believe in camo nets. Sue me, I don't really care. If you think the camo nets are really worth it, you can obviously switch out gun length drive or binos for it. But I believe that having better view range is better than having better camo. So no camo net for me. So now this game has gotten into quite a stalemate. I got quite a bit lucky with that 140 shot there. The penetration on this can seem ridiculous. You go through turrets of things that you don't really expect to go through. IS-7s usually are like butter as well for this, apart from when you shoot them only in tracks, then you are really salty about your life. But yeah, the 268, I don't really like the playstyle of it, but I can see why people could enjoy it. I mean, it's good at what it does. It does camping really good, it does sniping really good, apart from the shell velocity, but even that you can get used to and then it won't be that big of a deal. I mean, it's not KV2 shell velocity, but it's still the worst shell velocity of any tier 10 tank destroyer. By the way, look at the map. This game was made unnecessarily long because of those 3 tank destroyers that we have on the other side of the map doing fuck all the entire game. It's slightly amazing, like what the fuck were they doing? This is kind of hoping for my luck. I needed to drive forward so my gun would kind of shake so I can get my gun depression down there. But I couldn't. With one more extra degree of gun depression, I probably would have had that shot, but this is not 704 anymore. But yeah, overall, it's an upgrade over 704. I mean, the tank is much faster, it turns better, it gets kind of limited with the bad gun arch, but it's still much better than the previous tanks in the line. It gets a lot more hit points now as well. 2,000 hit points is pretty damn nice. Still can get one-shotted by the Death Stars, but most of the time you can survive that shit. Here I make probably the biggest mistake in this game. I really didn't want to aim long here, but this was just rushed and pretty bad. I think the replay didn't show how I saw it in my actual screen. I thought I aimed it a bit longer, but it was a poor play nonetheless. I should have... I almost put this guy in danger of myself dying here just because I missed that shot. But Jedi tanks the shot for me once again. And again, I would be dead if I didn't have platoon mates in this. So I would never play this tank like this if I didn't have a fucking platoon mates backing me up and driving heavy tanks and tanking for me. Because this tank, even though the armor can work, it's not gonna work a lot. I mean, people will start to shoot your lower plate and you're gonna die sooner or later. Now put another shot in the Death Star and he's dead as well now, really. If you tune up, obviously this tank is gonna work like a charm for you. You can be a good fire support, you can do a lot of damage. Some maps is really handicapped in, like Mines is probably the worst map to have this tank destroyer on from any tank destroyer, really. It's pretty bad map for it, like you take a risk of not seeing anybody and you can't really play aggressive in it. So yeah, some maps it struggles a lot. If you tune up, you can kinda negotiate that with just time pushes with your entire platoon, which can obviously work because they will shoot your platoon mates instead of you. Yay! No, I kinda don't give a shit. I just go out there, take a shot from the E3, aim for his lower plate, and put one into him. I'm just eager to get more damage done. Luckily, the Artie didn't want to kill me. He wanted to kill the waffle next to me, so the waffle dies. Artie has spoken, and the waffle has died. So. Just gonna drive forwards here and wait a bit till maybe the Audi shoots one more and two more times, but Waffle with the HE 15cm gun finishes off the E3. The Audi is right in front of us, we know that for a fact, so just driving forwards. And yeah, in Russian tank you shoot from third person, you aim about where Audi could be and you kill him, that's how it works. Here's the end plate, Ace Dunker. 1834 experience with premium account, no doubles obviously. Confederate, high caliber, 578 spotting damage or assistance, whatever. 7,523 damage done. Not a lot of XP for that kind of amount of damage, but the 268 suffers a lot from not getting a lot of XP because most of the time you're gonna be camping, you're gonna do like 5k damage and end up in the middle of your team. It's kind of a curse of the camping TDs. And don't get me wrong, I don't mean by camping, I don't mean sit in A1, wait for your team to die and then do your damage. I mean trying to support your team from like 500 meters, it's always gonna end up in you getting like, what, 800 experience for 5k damage done. That's how this tank works. It's not my type of tank. If you like these kind of campy TDs, then the 268 is the one for you. It's the best at what it does. It doesn't have an auto loader, so you don't have to worry about your clip. You can always camp and shoot whenever the enemy gets spotted, which is much better than having an auto loader. Like a Foch 155 is not good for camping, no matter what people say. It's good for timed assaults, but this tank isn't. This tank is good for camping. There's some camo changes coming up in 9.1. We'll see how that changes the balance of this tank on most TDs, really. I'll report back on that, but the 268 is worth the grind if you like camping. If you don't, then obviously you have nothing to do here. Hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you on the next one.